Magic, starlight, rambunctiousness.
Magic Starlight Rambunctiousness. That sounds like a My Little Pony like name.
Would it be though? I mean, I
I
guess
I,
so,
I
huh?
mean, typically it's like 1 to 2 names. Like Bulk Biceps is like the gym guy, and then Starlight Glimmer, Sunset Shimmer. Typically it's thing adjective,
Fair.
rainbow dash, like or Fluttershy. Flutter is an action, so it's actually verb, and then shy is an adjective. Yeah,
Fair.
no, yeah. Applejack.
That's fair.
That one's more. Hmm.
It's usually it's usually 3 syllables because you have rarity, which is only one word, but it's
Yeah.
3 syllables.
Well, yeah, Sweetie Belle, but then you have Twilight Sparkle, and then you have like I don't know. There's any number of other My Little Pony characters that have like longer names.
True. I mean,
Like,
Big Mac slash Big Macintosh, or
yeah,
Macintosh if you want to take out Mac, but or Big.
yeah.
But
Well,
it just
he,
varies.
yeah, Apple Bloom, Scootaloo.
3 syllables, 3 syllables. Scootaloo's one word technically.
Yes, yeah, Scootaloo is one word. Although it's technically hyphenated, it's Scoot dash A dash Lou.
Is that really how her name's spelled out?
That's the way it was originally. I don't know if they changed it
Okay,
because
because part of me said
yeah,
that it's not, but
yeah,
I could
no,
be
like
wrong.
I could be wrong, I could be right. I could be brown, I could be blue, I could be violet sky.
Red fish, blue fish,
One fish,
one
two
fish,
fish.
two fish, red fish, blue fish.
Yes. I could be hurtful, I could be purple, I could be anything you like. So, like, what you got? What you got?
What
Like,
do I got? I mean, why do we have what do you call it? Why do we have a Discord where we put things that if we didn't talk about it, we could put it there? Because I know I didn't use it, but I know one of the things I want to talk about is freaking drinking energy drinks again. Because goddamn, I don't drink this stuff anymore, and putting it back in my body in that system is just like, I understand why people use it to live on, but
oh
like,
yeah, no, like I've been trying really, really hard not to be dependent on energy drinks. Like, it shouldn't. It Woo, whoops, that was my bad.
oh,
Give me 2 seconds.
and he disappeared.
Huh?
Or did I
That
disappear?
was mean. Didn't
Chances are
mean
I
to do
might have
that.
disappeared. Oh, no, no, here he goes. Here he's back.
That
What
was a
happened?
whoops. No, I was like clicking through the Discord, and I got to like the voice channels accidentally, and it says Four Eyes Only, and
Oh,
like, because I'm
yeah.
like, what's Four Eyes Only, and like I clicked on it, and like it moved me over there. I'm like, oh crap.
uh,
Gosh, I am not used to using Discord as anything other than like a text chat sometimes, or like to talk to you basically, or talk to like my buddy Sterling.
so,
You never
um,
told me you went to an all guys high school.
yeah, I went to an all guys high school. It was just like one giant fucking fraternity. And that's why I didn't join Greek life when I went to college.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that's like, wow, that's weird. I didn't even know that they had segregated high schools anymore. Gender segregated high schools. Like in
well, it wasn't,
Hawaii, like
it
they have
wasn't,
all girls schools, but there's no
all what?
all boys schools, all girls schools. Like Sacred Hearts or whatever is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a
Is the general
female.
one that you
Yeah,
generally
no,
see, yeah.
yeah, like it's part of a larger organization of trying to upbring like young women to be actual parts of society. But typically what happens is they rebel like a little bit too hard, and like the typical like misnomer of Sacred Hearts is they're all sacred sluts, quote unquote. Like,
I mean, it just depends.
yeah, no, it depends, but like that was my lived experience in Hawaii. That is like what it was. Now, don't get me wrong, each individual girl is individual and separate from the organization or the school themselves, but that was the expectation, and it was very rarely wrong according to everyone I've talked to.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, your all boys school didn't turn you gay, so I'm pretty sure that didn't work the way that a lot of people said it did.
Oh, right. Yeah, I always found it interesting because, like, by the way, I don't know. Are you recording right now?
Yeah, I've been recording the whole time.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, yeah, like, one of the things that always caught me off guard when I was in high school was I had to be when I became an upperclassman. I used to see a lot of these kids like a lot of these young underclassmen, so like freshmen and sophomores, who would do their hair and do all what up and whatnot. And then I remember one time I asked one like why. I asked them why. Who are you trying to impress? And he's like, what? I'm like, just letting you know, we're all a bunch of dudes. I'm like, if you want to do it for you, that's cool. But if you're trying to impress somebody, who? Because I'm like, there's no one here to impress. Realistically, I'm like, if you run one way and you're trying to get at one of your classmates, cool, that's fine, whatever. But one of the things that I'd asked was like, why do you do it? He's just like, I don't know. Like, I just do it just to do it. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, if it makes you feel good, awesome, great. Are you doing it to try and impress anyone around you? Are you doing it to look cool to your friends? And he was like, kinda, I don't know. I'm like, why? Why do you have to do it to look cool? I'm like,
yeah, what? Well, I mean, it that was kind of easy for you because it's really cool to be walking your forehead on doorways and stuff. That's pretty freaking cool in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, just because I'm tall, but I mean,
yeah, no, being tall is pretty freaking cool. Like, I mean, I don't assume that this person was relatively short, but coming from like, I never had that sort of situation where I was in an all boys school.
Mm-hmm.
But I see where you're coming from. Like,
right, just letting you know, I was not the cool kid in high school. I was not cool at all. I just, at the end of it, by my senior year, I just owned my shit. I was just like, you know what? I'm me. I'm a big boy. Like, chubby, yeah, whatever. But you know what? I'm going to rock what I got. Mm-hmm. And no one's going to tell me otherwise. And it wasn't because of my height. Like, yeah, that was an added wow factor. But for the most part, I wasn't cool. At least I don't think I was. If anything, I was like one of a bunch of misfits, if anything. Mm-hmm. Even when I was in college, like, one of my favorite stories was that I remember I went to the gym because I played basketball with a few guys, and I ended up working there, and I ended up working out there as well. And one of these girls, because there were a bunch of girls who went to the gym and they got themselves all dolled up and looked pretty and put on their makeup and the part that pissed me off the most was they put on perfume. I'm like, did you really put on fucking perfume when you're about to work out at the gym?
Yeah, no, do you not understand how body oils work and the fact that you're essentially going to be like bombing people around you? Like, I get it, you don't like the smell of your own sweat, but you know what you do to prevent that? Like, you drink more water. Like,
well, it wasn't just that. The reason why, and it was because one of my friends, she was in a sorority, and one of her sorority sisters, they would work out together, and this homegirl, she would come out looking ready to work out, like headband, shorts, the full nine, sportswear, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Her homegirl came out in like a fucking Victoria's Secret pink tracksuit. I know which one you know which one I'm talking
No,
about
oh yeah,
because
straight up.
you
Yeah.
worked there
Yeah,
at
no,
one point in your life.
yeah.
And she had her hair done, she had makeup on, and holding her Nalgene bottle because that's the thing, and was like ready to work out. And I was just like, I looked at her, I looked at my friend, I looked at her, I was like, yo, I was like, what are you about to do? And she was like, I'm about to work out. Why? And I'm like, how? Why are you working? And I'm like, do you have perfume on? And she was like, yeah, what about it? I'm like, are you just trying to get yourself looked at this gym? Because I'll tell you this much. I was like, you could look all pretty, whatever and whatnot, but if you're just trying to pick up a dude at the gym, most of these guys are here just to work out.
Yeah, no, they're not looking for women at the gym. They look for their women where women are looking for men. Like that is
But
like, yeah.
But no, but it's understandable. It's understandable with that logic. But the point that I made to her, I was like, if you're just trying to pick up a dude, show the effort that you're actually going to work out. If the dude that you want's got this hot rocking body with these fucking 16-pack abs, and you're trying to get his attention, get his attention by actually working out with your sexy ass self, not dolled up, not freshened up. I'm like, take that to the bar, take that to the club, take that to whatever sorority house function mixer that you got going on. But if you're doing that at the gym, all they'll do is just look at you as eye candy, but you're not going to get sustenance after that. You're not going to get the depth that you want because all you are at this point is eye candy at the gym, And
Well, I mean, like if she could back it up afterwards, did she like actually start working out? Did she like get on the treadmill and run for like an hour straight, or did she like lift like twice her weight or something super cool like that? I don't like if you're gonna be like all dolled up and you are going to like leave still all dolled up, you need to do something pretty freaking impressive for it to be like
Yeah.
worth your while. Like if I could do like bicep curls with
yeah,
like
exactly.
with like the Olympic bar and like 6 plates on each side, that would be impressive, and I could wear whatever the f I wanted. But
Right.
if I were to come in like in a leotard or something and like do like I don't know, like pull-ups with like a rubber band under my feet to like help me do the pull-up, like I don't know. I think it'd be hilarious. Like I hope people would laugh because that would definitely be my intent. But like
Right.
I don't know how else to like. There's a social etiquette that comes with the way we are expected to dress in certain situations, and it should be a no-brainer for most people. Like,
Right.
if you're going to get hot and sweaty and stuff, there's no point in caking like stuff onto your face. Like,
No, for sure. And so and to finish the story,
yeah,
so after I pointed that out to her, my friend who was the girl I was talking to, sorority sister, kind of was like giggling a little bit because, I mean, she understood the assignment. Like, yeah, that's why I'm in all full workout gear to actually work out. Because come to find out that this homegirl only did like the treadmill or like the elliptical just enough to barely break a sweat, but to get all attention on her. But after that conversation, yeah, things changed because she was, she scoffed and was like, like, what the fuck do you know? And I'm just like, I mean, I know these dudes. I work out with these guys, and for the most part, most of the time, what's on their mind is, unfortunately, when it comes to meathead society, when it comes to a lot of people at the gym, granted, I've been there, but it's more or less like they're in their own heads. They're dealing with their own, shit.
Most guys are fighting through some sort of demon, whether it be like whether or not it's their weight or like. Guys don't go to the gym for like no reason. They're there for a reason. Guys often tend to do things for a reason. They're not necessarily a good reason. More often than not, like it's just some sort of dumb reason, or it's something that was put in their head by somebody else. But like,
Right.
guys are inherently programmed to be task oriented and trying to get shit done, because if we don't do it, it doesn't get done. Like, but that's just like, that's biologically required as a male. Like, it has nothing to do with like societal norms or anything like that. It's like, if you do not go out and kill it, it is not on your plate later on. Like,
Yeah. I mean, even to say, like, most of the guys that I knew that went to the gym, I mean, sorry about that. We overlapped. You're doing the cutting out thing again. I thought that you were done with your statement.
no. It's good. I stopped because you added in, so it's okay. Like, if it gets really bad though, like, no amount of editing is going to like really help that. Like, I did my best with our first episode, but like right now it is getting really cold up here, and my data rates are disgustingly low.
Okay.
So my up speed is like down to like less than like 2 megabits a second.
Oh, Jesus.
So that's probably why I'm like breaking up on your end. And
Right.
so,
Well, what ends up happening is that you're pausing, and then it's like 3 to 5 seconds of dead space or of radio silence, and then it continues off where you left off. So it's like either you're going to hear me pause, or I'm going to literally talk as soon as you start talking.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, no, like I think it's just the packets, man. Like the data is being sent. It's just getting bottlenecked outside of, well, basically the second it leaves my PC.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'll try to do something. I'll try to salvage this. This is going to be a considerably longer editing session, so.
Yeah, I mean, also at the same time too, what ends up happening is if we do overlap, or like not overlap, the overlapping that happens, but the pauses, I think what ends up happening is that you end up going on your statement, and once it catches up, there's probably a small pause there, so there's probably going to be some of that pause, excuse me, overlap.
Yeah, like I said, I'll try to do my best to salvage something out of this recording, but
Yeah,
you know,
no worries.
it is interesting. We started like kind of dissecting interactions with humans, like the expectations versus interaction versus common sense is kind of like the overall general topic. And we know, since we basically agree, common sense isn't common anymore.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't say common. I would just say it's a societal lack for a lot of things.
Yeah, well, common sense is not something that is supposed to be taught in school, and therefore it was never taught in school, and therefore a lot of people never learned it. But when you say it to somebody, it's like, I should know that already, or I know it already. Yeah, like it's like, oh, by the way, the stovetop is hot. You really shouldn't touch it. Like, if you're telling someone honestly, like, because they might not know, it just sounds like you're being a smartass. But like,
Yeah.
you know, like that there are certain things like what's it called? Trial and error. There you go. That you kind of need to go through, and that's why we're supposed to get wiser as we get older. Now,
Because
I know
we've gone through the mistakes, yeah.
Yeah,
We've gone
because
through the
we've
mistakes and we learned from them.
Yeah, supposedly. Like, there are some people who physically cannot learn from their mistakes. Or if they're never taught that what they did was considered mistaken. Or if they taught that everything that they've done has just been absolute gold, and they should keep doing that one thing, even if it's not the right thing to be doing. Like, we have a lot of positive reinforcement of negative behaviors in society as a whole right now.
True.
And
True, for the most part.
Like, you know, actions that are deplorable under any other circumstances are being cheered on by people on the internet, just because they feel like they've made some sort of, or had some sort of social victory.
Right. Do you think that's what translates more so to like those who are like creative influencers for social media?
Kind of. I think, like, because I'm not necessarily an influencer, I'm slowly filling in my managerial position at my job, and I'm seeing how positively reinforcing good behavior
Mm-hmm.
is way more effective at making sure that things get done correctly than trying to negatively enforce bad behavior,
Right.
like
That,
the quote unquote carrot and stick thing.
mhm.
But
That's
like,
the reason why I was translating it to like for social media influencers specifically, not
yeah,
creators, like not like audio creators or like entertainment creators, but like specifically social media influence. Is
okay,
that
so like the people who like shout out brands here and there and like
basically
try to get a movement going for something.
right?
Like
Those
like
that care about their likes and their follow count on literally like anything social, like on social
well,
media,
yeah,
like those
no,
kind of people.
like I think we talked about this a while ago, but it came up on my other channel that they asked, it's like, oh, can we follow you on like any other social, blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say blah 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 because not because I want to diminish their question of me, but because I
Right.
honestly don't remember the full statement. And
Mm-hmm.
my response was, I don't particularly care for social media because I think that it is a vicious cycle of like compounding neuroses and insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like the whole likes system and everything is gamified specifically to make you more insecure about what you put online and uh, falsely bolster certain things that you feel about yourself, or
For
like
sure.
make you feel negative about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
or and meanwhile they're all collecting your data and collecting what you've been looking at. Like let's say you are feeling a little bit bad about like your weight. Now large multimedia corporations use that information to push products at you. Now, is it necessarily the right product? No, more often than not, it's, oh, try this new crash diet, blah 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 blah, or try
Mm-hmm.
this thing, or maybe you think that you might have like, I don't know, maybe you're like, oh, I'm sad today. All you need to do is say the word sad, and all of a sudden they start prescribing things like, you know, like depression medication and stuff.
Right.
Like it's really kind of disgusting how targeted these like the social media companies are when it comes to feeding insecurity.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely see it a lot more so with the type of advertisements that are literally targeted,
Oh
right?
yeah, no, like my advertisements lately on like my own Facebook have all been related to my own personal searches, but a lot
Mm-hmm.
of them have been blocked because, my personal searches are normally guns, cars, and like, survivalist stuff because I think it's really cool to be
Guns,
able
cars,
to
and
take care of yourself. So like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, guns, cars, and survivalist stuff. Like,
Right.
like I would hate to live in Mad Max, but given the possibility of a terrible, terrible future, such as the Mad Max universe, being an
Mm-hmm.
actual possibility of a dystopian future, I would survive a little bit better than a lot of people. Just
No, that's
because,
understandable.
like, I hope it never happens. Like, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I want America, and by extension, everyone else in the world, um, that is friends with America, to continue to advance. I want us to become a level 1 society. If you know anything about I can't remember who it is. There's like levels of society. Right now, America, which is the most prosperous nation in the world, by a lot of metrics is a like 0.78 on the society scale, because we create more pollution than we remove from the environment, so we're at a net negative on that side. But we're better than almost any other country besides France, because they're like 90% nuclear or 80% nuclear.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like where I want us to advance to a point where we aren't destroying the environment for the sake of creating small knickknacks. Like, don't get me wrong, I like knickknacks. I love knickknacks. I have like 3 wooden puzzles literally stacked up on my computer right now that I took apart and put together while I was waiting for you. Like, because it was fun and it was something to do. But do they serve a purpose other than entertainment? No, because they do something. They'll be nice kindling if the world were to end, because
Right.
they're dry and they're treated. Like, but like I don't know. I think I'm trying to equate too many things at once. Like a grand answer to a problem that only I seem to think exists sometimes. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm having like a weird type of introspection right now. Anyway, yeah,
Well,
people dress weird.
weird, 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 weird indeed. Sorry about that. You definitely dropped, and I was hoping that I would catch you and timed it just right, and fortunately, it almost worked.
It almost worked. It almost
It almost
worked.
worked.
Yeah.
It almost worked, but I mean, it's true. It's funny how your ads, your algorithm for advertisement is very different than mine. Because yours is very gung ho survivalist, and for sure, I agree. When it comes to some sort of situation where if it ends up being like a Mad Max or Walking Dead scenario, I think a good handful of the people I know for sure would be more inclined to be able to survive for a lengthier amount of time
Mm-hmm.
given the circumstances. But my advertisement are all nerd shit.
Oh yeah,
Definitely a
don't get
lot.
me wrong. Like
Mhm.
interspersed between somebody like building an underground fortress, like by themselves, like in the woods for hours on end. Like, in between that is still like my regular nerd stuff. Like, the hacksmith trying his like 80th attempt at making an Iron Man suit, or like
Right.
any number of the other things that like scroll across my feed, or any of the things I've subscribed to. Like, a lot of the stuff, my TikTok is probably the worst because it's almost 100% political, and then like random cryptid stuff because I like the paranormal, and
Hmm.
I think learning about the paranormal is really interesting. A little bit of history is there, and then like mostly it's political because it's what TikTok found out I would watch all the way through.
Yeah.
Now,
On my end,
even
when
if I
it,
don't like agree with it, like
mhm.
I'll watch it all the way through so I can be like, okay, I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, even my TikTok, I only use TikTok straight up to just like if I find a video on other social media and you know how it shows like who it's from, I just
Mm-hmm.
literally go to those videos, download it, and then send it to people directly. Other than that, it's just usually people singing or Star Wars stuff. Rarely is it now video games. I mean, I use my social media more so for fun, which is why most of the advertisements are catered to that.
Mm-hmm.
I generally get a lot of video game catered ads. So I usually on Instagram, it's usually clothing, and I have to thank a couple people for that because a handful of people have introduced me to like minimalistic or like fashionable nerdware, and so I'm very much so appreciative of that. And it makes it where the ads aren't as loud because even a lot of the things that I follow are also catered to that as well. So it's just like, oh, it just looks like a normal page, and then I find out that it's not from one of the pages I follow, and it's just like, okay, let me check it out.
Mm-hmm.
It's more subtle, which is what I like, rather than it being like, hey, we know you like this. This is what we have for you. But then again, too, I've also lowered the amount of data that could be researched on me on a lot of things, and it's been a lot more pleasant because of it. I don't know if it's done the same for you.
My experience, because I try to turn off as much tracking data as possible on my stuff. So, like, the vanilla versions of certain websites with no data on you look really, really strange. Like, open up an incognito browser.
You think so?
And, like, type in YouTube and, like, remove your YouTube account. Like, the things that are recommended to people who don't have an account on Google is, like, really weird. And it's super broad. But it's also, like, really popular stuff. So, like, it's really interesting how they kind of, like, take a shotgun approach on your initial thing, and the first thing you click on is how they start tailoring it. And the more videos you watch all the way through, the more they know about user 11166324118, whatever, right? Like,
shout out to you, dude.
Yeah, shout out to that user, you know? Like, we don't even know if you actually are a user, but, like, still, you know? The moderator that, like, is checking out your account right now, yeah, he knows what you've been watching. Yeah, no, like, they know that user will watch all the way through that particular marble race video.
Right.
Or that particular non-Newtonian water fountain video. Or anytime Vsauce or Veritasium decide to post something that sounds like it shouldn't work, but, like, totally makes sense when they explain it. Yeah. Or anytime, like, Casey Neistat decides to upload another really, really, really well-edited video.
Oh, and then for sure we'll take a look into your Fortnite dance tutorial videos as well. Don't forget those.
Oh, yeah, straight up. I mean, you know, sub to PewDiePie, because he needs it. Or are they done with that because Machinima... No, there's no way that he lost against Machinima. He probably did.
I have no idea. I don't keep up with any of that
like,
stuff anymore.
On top of that, there's a culture within, like, the media. So, like, it's really interesting how many layers there are. There's, like, the people who are like there's the base layer, which is YouTube itself. So everything that has to deal with just YouTube. There's even layers within those layers, because, like, there's the people on the legal side of YouTube that are, like, having to deal with copyright strikes, and there are the people on the non-legal side. They're in the public sector that are, like, trying to just spread the word about something, you know, spread awareness, spread information, like, and like, that's just on YouTube. Like, it has like, and then there's, like, world and current events that are shared on YouTube. Like, when you have the commons. And by the commons, I mean social media and anywhere where your voice is supposed to be able to be heard. Like, and there are guidelines to what you are and are not allowed to say. Whether or not that information is true or false, or for the sake of entertainment purposes, or for the sake of misinformation. Because we know that there's that guy that used to jokingly make videos about how to increase your internet speed by attaching batteries to your Ethernet cables. Like, like, everyone's seen that video somehow, but, like, and, like, I admit, I tried it at some point, and I'm like, okay, this, like, I shouldn't have done it, but I wanted to try it because, like, my curiosity versus my amount of knowledge didn't add up. That should actually be, like, a slider on certain things. Like, I wonder if I could, like, build that. Like, curiosity
what do you
versus
mean?
Like, okay, so, like, theory crafting right now. You will click on something based on your curiosity if your base amount of knowledge on that something is lower than your curiosity. So if you know more about something than the video suggests, then you are less likely to click it.
Okay, I could see what you mean. I could see. So,
like, I can't remember. It's like the expert the expert isn't the expert ballroom dancing dancer is watching football, right? The expert ballroom dancer isn't watching ballroom dancing 24/7. No, the expert
No.
ballroom dancer is watching football, or he's like watching something other than that. It might be in the same genre. Like
Okay.
maybe he's not watching ballroom dancing, but like maybe he's like, oh, like maybe he's watching like coordinated dancing, like like they do in like Japanese music videos or something. Like or like maybe they're watching like BTS music videos because they still like music. Like
Right.
the overlap is really interesting, but like I guess I'm getting at the basic theory is you are going to click on something where your knowledge on it is lesser than the amount of curiosity you have. So, and that's why clickbait became a thing.
Right. Right.
Like, you wouldn't believe this. Click.
Click. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
This person did this to me. Click.
Click. And it's an ever present like thing where just we're gonna be clicking our lives away because there's always more to learn, there's always more to see, there's always more to know, and like whether or not that information actually has value to you is up to you to decide. But I'm not one. I shouldn't be one to talk. I can't tell you how many hours I've wasted watching things that have absolutely nothing to do with bettering my own personal life, other than entertainment.
Oh, for
Or,
sure.
like-
I've gone down the deep rabbit hole of watching scorpions be fed, or I can't do spiders.
actually,
I can't do arachnids, but I do scorpions or snakes,
Well,
like
scorpions
feeding
are
or
arachnids.
milking.
Yeah, scorpions.
Why? That's why I said spiders. I didn't.
Yeah,
I corrected myself with spiders,
Yeah.
but or watching snakes get milked for their venom, which I find fascinating.
Yeah,
But
no.
it has no intrinsic value other than watching it once and be like, oh, that's how they do it.
Yeah, no,
All right.
that's really interesting. I hope I never have to see that in person, or like I hope I'm at a safe distance if I have to see that at person. Or hey, I hope that it bites someone else before it bites me because it only has enough for one. Like
Right.
like I don't know, like I guess. No, you know what? I guess like there's a certain amount of media that you can watch where some of it would be useful outside of conversational knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Like
Right. That's what I said. Is like when it comes to like watching scorpion feedings or snake feedings / milkings, it's like you only need to watch a certain number of videos to understand how it works, and then you could explain it. But if you go down that rabbit hole and you just watch it the entire time, guess what? You're spending an hour and a half to maybe 2.5 hours of just watching the same thing happen over and over again. It's just one snake is slightly different, or this scorpion does this instead of this or that,
yeah, this breed of scorpion needs to be kept at this temperature so that they don't jab you. Like
Right.
or like if a snake is below this temperature, they'll be in a pseudo coma. So,
Right.
just throw them into a cooler. You'll be fine. Like or any of that stuff. But even if you're just watching like I guess like primetime television, even like not even like you can learn a lot from sitcoms. I've found like depending
Yeah.
on the sitcom. Now, I treat medical procedurals and like everything like that like sitcoms, because you're never ever going to say, oh, it's definitely cerebral palsy to somebody at a hospital.
It's funny you say that because just before the holidays, so I just finished watching Psych. We talked about that off recording, or I think.
Yeah, no.
I was watching House, House MD, as part of that, and it's probably like my fourth time watching it, and it's exactly what you mean by what you say by that. It's like because in the show they constantly come up with like the same 8 like super diseases, and it's
Yeah.
like, no, it's not that one.
No.
And
Like, it's like, oh, but we're going to treat them for an infection. It's like, turns out they don't have an infection, they have something
right.
else. And they actually made it
Hmm.
worse because they were trying to treat an infection despite it not being an infection. But
Right.
that's that type of medicine. Exploratory medicine like that is, but it kind of shows how that isn't considered malpractice to treat somebody for something they don't have.
Right.
Like,
Right.
so
It mhm.
yeah, no, like you can still learn something, but it's not going to be practical knowledge. It's going to be
Right.
entertaining as hell though. Like I can't tell you how many hours I've watched House. Like I think I've never completed all of it because after
Mhm.
the original cast of like secondaries were all gone, I just, didn't care anymore. But
But Olivia Wilde though. um no, I understand. I understand. Yeah, it's always weird when that happens, but no, I get what you say. I get what you mean by that. And you learn a lot of um unnecessary but good knowledge to have technically, you know what I mean? It's just like the things that you could take from shows like that is like, okay, well, if it's like, because I have medical training, but it's
mhm.
like you learn how to do some procedural aspect of diagnostics, of diagnosing something, even if you don't have the full knowledge. It's just like, best example is like if you hear a snap, crack, or a pop when you do something, kind of is an indicator of what it could be.
Mhm.
Or like a lot of people who have muscle issues, you can't tell if it's the muscle itself, the nerve that it's attached to, or the tendon that it is functioning, because depending on how
Mhm.
it's moved. So it's just that
Yeah.
kind of mentality. It's just you know how these things work, but you don't know the entire route of the way it goes.
Yeah, but uh it's useful in that describing something to someone is useful. Like,
Right,
if
right,
you
right,
tell
right, right.
someone the directions to a place, they may be able to get there.
Right.
It'll take them a little bit longer. But if
Mhm.
you make that person try to go from one place to the next place and do that back and forth all the time, it all of
Mhm.
a sudden becomes something they just do naturally without having to think about it.
Right. And
And
it
but
also depends. Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
it does depend on what that task they're doing is because there are only certain things that we're able to autopilot. Now,
Right.
autopilot is a terrifying mechanism of the brain, and that's why we can't remember what we had for breakfast yesterday
Mhm.
because
it's
autopilot.
also it's also the same thing. Like what I mean by like it also depends. It also depends on how you utilize that knowledge on from point A to point B, right? Just like how you say someone learns autopilot, it's also the same way how you describe how to get there for one person, because you could literally you have multiple options, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could say go down West Avenue something and then turn left on Vermont. But also at the same time, you have another way of delivering that same information is like go down and turn right at the gas station. You know, same exact thing. It's just how it's delivered. And that's how it depends when it comes to how that information is translated,
Yeah,
right?
and people are going to take certain types of direction better than others, or worse than others.
Mm-hmm.
If you say, "Oh, you're not familiar with this area," then you would do the gas station one because, you know, oh, like at the second or third gas station, or not, or at the third gas station, take a left.
Mm-hmm.
After or before, it depends. Like,
Right.
but if they're familiar with the area, you can say things like, "Oh, it's on 23rd in Everett," or
Mm-hmm.
or it's
Exactly.
on it's on this street and this street. You can tell them corner streets, and they can get there without needing a map. But
Right.
it requires familiarity. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess the more you know, the easier it is to get to the places that you need to be.
Right.
Whether that's knowledge wise, like a lot of school curriculum all kind of adds up And it's kind of designed around the idea that as you learn something in one class, the next class is supposed to be able to utilize it somehow. All
Mm-hmm.
except for the language arts, because the language arts have changed so much over the courses of, the decades.
Mm-hmm.
But like
Mm-hmm.
as you're learning certain math concepts in math, when you're in the sciences, you're supposed to be able to apply those certain math concepts as you're learning the sciences. Now, your
Right.
commanding of the English language allows you to describe certain things a little bit better without the use of base terms for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Like expanding your vocabulary does help, but there's only so much you can expand your vocabulary before people start thinking that you're talking in tongues.
True.
Like, yes, I could be exceedingly eloquent in my speech and linguistics. That being said, I could just say I talk good and people know I understand it.
Very true. But it also depends on not just how much knowledge you have, but it also comes from location as well. Location and demographics.
Oh yeah, no, who's around you or what's around you. Like in Hawaii, no
Exactly.
one talks about street names.
Right.
Like people don't give direction with street names in Hawaii at all. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
never met anyone who's like, "Oh, you take H1 and then you take exit 25A and then you go take a right on Pilau Street or something like that." No,
Right.
like they don't say that. And it's like, "Oh, you know the kind there. Yeah, there. Leonard's. You know how to get to Leonard's? Yeah, it's down
Mm-hmm.
that street. Yeah, not that one, the one by the Safeway. Yeah, that one."
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
It's
"What?"
and what do you call it? And it's generally the opposite over at my end, just because over here we generally know street names because we're not a grid system. We're not like New York City, or we're not like a circle grid, kind of like Portland is, because Portland is technically a circle grid in certain parts, but
Mm-hmm.
um, you
Downtown is
can't
at
say.
least. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't say north, south, east, or west on like go southbound. No, you can't do that. Because over here, there are streets that start off going north and south, but eventually it curves and it goes east to west. So
Mm-hmm. And they
over
don't change the
here,
name of the street to this portion of this
right,
street. No, this is still part of that beginning street. Yeah,
right,
no.
right. And so it's like it just depends on where you come from, what your location is like. Because like if it's New York, you just say numbers, and it's just like, all right, I know generally where you're at because it is a full grid system. Um, and it's just like, all right, just go to the corner of 197th and 40th. It's just like, all right, I know where you're at. I know where to go. Um, LA not so much, and Hawaii it seems like it's based off on feelings.
Kind of. I think it's like pseudo divided down old Ahapua'a like lines and like around certain social landmarks, and then some of the
Right.
city planning was done post tourism, like
Mhm.
so Waikiki was pseudo developed like as like a bigger tourist spot, so like they tried to make it tourist friendly, but that was before cars made it to the islands when they were doing that, so like
Right.
there was a lot going on. Like Hawaii went from a Stone Age plus plus society to like rifle warfare in a matter of split seconds
Mhm.
relative to the uh, relative to like the greater scheme of history. Like so it's really interesting because prior to 1779, I believe, was James Cook. Prior to that,
Okay.
Native Hawaiians didn't even know the rest. Like the world wasn't inhabited, didn't have just islands everywhere. Like giant land masses didn't make sense to them.
That's true, right?
Yeah, no, like
Um
that is 100% like factual. Like Hawaiian, at least the Hawaiians that settled in Hawaii never made it to North America, South America, never made it all the way across the Pacific, and it took them long enough generationally that even their generational knowledge couldn't keep track of where they came from. And that's why, although we know that, Hawaiian descent is somewhere between, like, Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, like, they're from Polynesia in general, and their genetics says otherwise. We don't have a direct map of where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no one's generational knowledge is that long. Like, even with, like, their crazy ability to remember, like, the literal mountain of names that technically every Hawaiian-born person has, depending on the island, of course, because if I remember correctly, your name is the name that you are given, and then all of the names of the people that gave you that name, your mother and father on both sides, actually are still part of your name because you are them, just newer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to gather all that up together.
Yeah. No, like it's really interesting, like, it to go from that culture to a mostly developed, developed being like modernized society, because 1779, like, America was 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, no, the United States, as it were, was 3 years old at that point. And like, I mean, mind you, they're like, the rest of the world had been, empires had risen and fallen before the Hawaiians even set foot on the Hawaiian Islands. Like, our best guess is, like, the people who settled Hawaii, who became Hawaiians after long enough, only made it there like 2,000 years ago. So,
Gotcha.
when Jesus Cristo was running around, the Hawaiians were like, "Oh, look, islands."
Got you.
Yeah, or our best estimates, because you can't carbon date stuff, because carbon doesn't actually deteriorate fast enough for you to do anything less than like several 100,000 years old. I think it's like 500,000 years, and it's the specific decay of one radioactive isotope of carbon. And that's what carbon dating is.
More knowledge.
Yeah,
more
right?
knowledge into this podcast, because I'm just like, oh, I find this actually interesting. Go on.
Yeah.
And because, like, for those who don't know, it's just like we share a lot of knowledge bombs on each other depending on the topic and the subject. And if there's some discrepancy, generally we fact check. And just understanding this and being fascinated through science and whatnot. Yeah, I'm a science nerd, but I'm not as big of a science nerd as Caleb is.
Oh,
That's for sure.
Definitely not. And my pop culture references are severely stunted by the fact that Hawaii used to not get stuff on time. Like, by a lot. Like, before.
And also hour-wise, like,
Yeah,
even growing up, too.
Yeah.